Hi, my name is Diane, and I'm here today to talk to you about triple threat among the elderly. And the questions that you should ask is, how are you? Not only physically, but emotionally. Triple threat amongst the elderly includes depression, their suicide risk, and handguns. Elderly people have a higher risk of completed suicide. Depressive symptoms in older adults have been associated with risk of disabilities. Recent autopsy studies demonstrate that depression is the major cause of suicide in the older adult. Sad but true that depression is rarely screened at the primary care physician settings. So in collaboration, we must, among the public health care professionals, be aware to screen for depression amongst the elderly. Public health care professionals, medical care providers, and welfare professionals can help reduce suicide risks among the elderly. Community-based screenings and activities to reach out to older adults must be done. These outreach efforts are for the depressed older adults who are reluctant to seek help. We must encourage support groups and spiritual guidance through their religion or a belief of a higher power. We all have or know someone who is older, either our grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, siblings. Let's ask, how are you? The benefits of collaboration with the healthcare providers and medical care professionals: we will enhance the awareness of suicide risk in the elderly. We will recognize depression contributing to the factors of suicide. We will include access to firearms in our screenings when they visit their doctors. We will promote routine screenings for depression in the elderly. We will educate family to recognize the signs and symptoms of depression. With that being said, a story was told of an elderly gentleman who went to the emergency room to seek help. The help that he was seeking, he was complaining of physical aspects. He wasn't feeling good, and tiredness, increase in fatigue, constant headaches. With that, they did not find any physiological problems with this elderly man. 2 days later, he ended his life. And that's something that it could have been prevented if we had the proper education and screening for the older adult. In conclusion, the bottom line is that society as a whole needs to recognize the signs and symptoms of depression in the elderly and the older adult. After much research on depression in the elderly, I am more conscientious of the elderly or the older adult, especially when I ask, how are you? The usual response I do receive is good, but I get normal aches and pains that go along with aging. You know how it is. I know that their reply is always about how they're physically feeling, but not emotionally. So when we ask, we need to ask, how are you, to include their emotional and psychological aspect as well. We can evaluate for signs and symptoms of depression at that time. As the holiday season is approaching, depression is at its peak. So when you ask, how are you, please include their emotional, psychological well-being too. We are all responsible for family, friends, as healthcare providers in the medical field, professionals, and community outreach groups and welfare professionals are all responsible for the elderly. I thank you. And don't forget, how are you?